Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from Washington, D.C. We're not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican and then the Socialist. I'm yours truly, the Exceptional One. Glad to have you here tonight. Tonight's a very big and very special night, as always. With tonight, we have a wonderful, wonderful guest who is going to prepare our hearts and minds for ending our activities of recording here in Washington, D.C. before we head off to Freedom Fest in Las Vegas, starting tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, my bouncer is in the chat roll, Mary Brockman. And if you diss her, you diss me, and you will be dismissed. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Biggs, who is preparing for travel, is listening to us via Ustream and live stream. Tonight, our big guest is David, author of I Belong, Amen Ministries. His testimony, ladies and gentlemen, will put your heart to rest to the love that God has for each and every single one of us. A tremendous, tremendous man. I had the pleasure of talking with him in Philadelphia. I tell you, it is nothing like indeed, meeting people who love the Lord with all of their heart, with all of their mind, with all of their soul, with all of their strength, because nothing can separate them from the love of Jesus. And I want you to know that's the very same thing with you. I know some of you are saying, well, I don't tune in on Sunday mornings at 7 a.m. for an American Conservative expiration of the inspired word of God. I hope this is not going to be one of those preachy things. No, it's not really. You're going to listen to the heart and soul of a man who turned his complete life and soul around. So, and the great thing about it is, it can happen to all of us, every single one of us. Redemption is a wonderful, wonderful tool. I hope the noise is perfect for you. We call it volume. Hopefully everything's well. Do want to say this. Whatever you do in life, never invite the President of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama, to your funeral. If you really want a good funeral, and especially if you happen to be police, don't invite the President of the United States. See, I've already told my wife, there's a list of people who will be stopped at the parking lot, can't come to my funeral. As much as people believe that they could just step right on in. It ain't like that at all. Some people don't have that kind of favor because they don't have kuth, and they certainly don't have love in their heart. So I'm just going to tell you all, your name's on the list. So if your name's on that list, you can't come to the parking lot. Okay, you can watch across the street, but you can't come into the parking lot either. But it was an embarrassment today, and we're going to talk about that in the last quarter of our show. Janis Hall, J Hall World Report, will be joining us at 10:05. And ladies and gentlemen, you need to tell your friends. Go tell each and every single one of them. Tune in. This is the show that you need to listen to. If you don't listen to any other show this year, this is that one. Ladies and gentlemen, you know how we start this off. We will be right back after the children lead us and a word of pledge. Yes, they will pledge allegiance to the United States of America. You know how it's done. You take your right hand, you put it over your heart, you find a flag, look behind you. There you go, right over here. And you pledge allegiance to it. Take it away, kids.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of
All right. That's what I'm talking about. Amen. Amen. That's the way we should do it. That's the way it should always be done. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the Exceptional Conservative Show. Tonight's show is very huge. It's a big, big show because David Arthur will be joining us. David Arthur is uh, a young man who has turned his life around for Christ. His testimony is extravagant, and I welcome everybody who's in the chat roll. This is the place that you need to be at the radio broadcast central, the exceptionalconservativeshow.com. I am telling you, there will not be a dry eye in the house, but it's a very powerful testimony. And we're going to give him a phone call right now. Ringy dingy 1, ringy dingy 2. Hopefully you hear it all in stereophonic sound.
Hello.
Good evening, David Arthur.
Good evening. This is David.
David, this is Ken McClinton from the Exceptional Conservative Show. It's a privilege to have you on the air with us tonight.
Ken, how are you? It's a privilege to be on the air with you.
Listen, you're a great guy, and we love having you on the air with us tonight. Your testimony is simply incredible, and you didn't mind hanging out with a young man like myself, preference the young man part, in Philadelphia a few weeks back. Tell everybody what you were doing in Philadelphia just a few weeks back on the 4th.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Tell everybody what you were doing on the 4th of July up in Philadelphia.
On the 4th of July, I was standing in front of thousands of people telling them, just pouring out my heart and soul to them.
Awesome. And that was part of the Sylvester Bland's United Saints of America event up in Philadelphia.
Yes, it was.
Okay. And how did you come to know Sylvester Bland?
Oh, actually, through Kathy Barnett, we got to talking online. I was interested in their ministry, and they were interested in mine. And so Pastor Sylvester Bland gave me a little airtime on his weekly show.
Mm-hmm.
And they invited me up to Philadelphia, and of course I ran with it because I'm actually from Philadelphia. So to be able to go back to Philadelphia as who I am now was quite a blessing.
It's tremendous, a tremendous blessing indeed.
Amen.
Listen, it was a pleasure meeting you.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
I look forward to talking with you again in person. But your testimony is simply stunning. You know, I've been in church all my life, and I've heard testimonies. Right. Some which I didn't want to hear too often, but it was retold and retold. But your testimony given to the people of Philadelphia before the Liberty Bell was just amazing, simply amazing. And what I wanted to do tonight is give my audience, before we head off to Las Vegas, the opportunity to hear how God can change whatever your paradigm, whatever your situation, your circumstance, your condition. All he's asking for is just your willingness to submit. So I want you to give us an opportunity here. Tell us, David Arthur, going back, what led you to Christ Jesus?
What led me to Christ Jesus? I didn't start off my life like a lot of young people do. I started off with my father had committed suicide just before I was born, so I didn't have a father in my life, and I was also molested as a child. So with that said, I always have to make it clear that neither one of those tragedies are a reason for the choices that I made in my life. but they are contributing factors, and they're just not the deciding one. And so with that said, from a very early age, I was engaging in homosexuality. And I believe the only time I ever spoke to God when I was in my preteens or even my early teens was to ask him why he put me in the wrong body, because I believe the deception that I was meant to be a girl or meant to be a female. And it was a troubling, difficult time because I truly believed it. There was no doubt in my mind.
Well, let me ask you this. Forgive me for interjecting, but
Sure.
when did you first experience this thought that God had put you in the wrong body?
I have to say I had to be probably preteen, maybe like 8, 9 years old when I first started feeling like, you know what, I'm meant to be a girl.
Yeah.
It's not just, it wasn't just that men wanted to engage in activities with me, but they wanted to treat me like a little girl, and so I really believe that I was meant to be a little girl.
So at that age, at age 8 and 9, it wasn't just one instance of molestation, but there were several instances of molestation by other men.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
now, did your mom or any other person know that this was going on in your life?
No, they didn't. And they kind of just looked at me like a lot of parents and people look at these kids nowadays, and they say, "Oh, he's gonna be gay," or he's different.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of guiding them and leading them and giving them that love and that focus that they really do need. They just accept it as just something that, is, or something that, okay, they were born that way or they were meant to be that way. And so with that, I took that and ran with it. By the age of 14, I was on the streets of Philadelphia. I was dressing like a girl. I was running.
Whoa!
Pardon?
What, 14 years old?
14 years old, I ran away from home. I was dressing like a girl. I was taking female hormones. I was prostituting. And on top of it, at 14 years old, I was HIV positive.
Oh.
And I gained an attitude that whoever gave it to me didn't care, so I don't care who I give it to. And I took it further because I spent until from the 14 until I was 37 years old, I spent all of those years purposely and intentionally trying to infect as many men as I could. And the men that I dealt with living as a transgender, as a female, those men that I dealt with had wives and girlfriends and children at home. And that was my mindset. I wanted to take everybody out.
Wow.
I truly believed the deception. I was truly an agent of the devil. I wasn't, I didn't stumble into sin. I was the sin. Anybody that knew me, even in my own family, they would tell you to this very day that I'm the very absolute last person that they would even consider that could have walked away from the life that I lived.
Wow.
I was dedicated I was dedicated to the devil. I was dedicated to the world. And in 2008, I had osteoporosis really bad. And I couldn't stand up straight. I needed a walker to walk. And it was from all the female hormones that I had taken. And all the abuse that I had done to my body. Life and men had taught me, I was beaten, I was battered, and I was just tossed to and fro. And I was diagnosed with full-blown AIDS, and I had infections in my brain and in my blood. And this is in 2009, where they sent me home to die. They said I had no immune system. My viral load was not in the tens of thousands like other people who had full-blown AIDS. Mine was in the millions.
Wow.
And they knew that I was going to die. They sent me home. They put hospice in place. They put the hospital bed, the nurse, everything, all in place. They told my family, make arrangements. We'll not survive the next month or two. Make arrangements because he is checking out. And I didn't even have to take the medications anymore because this had absolutely zero, none hope. And it was when I laid upon that bed that God caused the increase. He caused the increase in a seed that was planted in me in 2006 when I was in prison by a correctional officer. And the correctional officer came to me and he said, David, God did not create you like this. He didn't make you to be this way.
Wow.
And he told me God's truth, God's honest truth in love, like I had never heard any man tell me anything in my life, and I knew without a doubt that this man loved me. He truly and he purely loved me, and he wanted nothing from me. And that was something new to me. That was something I didn't understand. I couldn't comprehend it because I was being followed. I was being chased by a man that loved me and cared about me, but he didn't want anything from me.
Yes.
And that took me to a place that I had never been before. And so with that seed that he planted, God started to cause that increase when I laid on my deathbed. And I picked up the word, and God led me to some key verses, one of them being Romans 1:27. And so not only did that verse tell me that God, that the life that I was living was sinful, but it also told me that he didn't create me this way. It was unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing that it was unnatural, I knew that I had to put it down. It was an addiction. It was not natural. It was an addiction. I had to put it down. I had to walk away from it. And that's what I did. And see, when I was on my deathbed, I knew two things. I knew that, one, I was afraid to die.
Yes.
And I knew, two, I did not want to go to hell. And it was those two things that changed within a week or two. As I begged God for forgiveness for everything, as I gave him the reins to my life, he gave me peace. And I woke up one morning and I had a peace and I had a comfort, a rest in me that I hadn't known ever. And I knew two things.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was no longer afraid to die. And I knew that I wasn't going to hell.
Praise the Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking tonight with David Arthur. Tomorrow's not promised. I don't know even if I'm going to make it to Las Vegas tomorrow. But you needed to hear this testimony. I know there's someone out there who will pick up this very show maybe 20 years from now and say that was the reason. David Arthur's life was the reason why I got saved. Ladies and gentlemen, Romans 1:27 through 29, the King James reads this way. It says, and likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was meet. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind, to do those things which are not convenient, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, and it goes on. God, and I was there ever a time before that correctional officer spoke with you that someone talked with you about God, and were you bitter towards God for all the things that were happening to you in your life?
I was, and there absolutely was. I had either one of two extremes. I had the extreme of, well, it's okay, God made you that way, it's okay. And so in that case, my mind went to the fact, well, if God made me this way, what do I need to go to church for?
Yeah. Oh.
You know?
Can you, David,
I had the people telling me, well,
David,
you're going to hell. Huh?
David, can you say that again? Because there are some ministers out there that are preaching a dangerous gospel that puts people's lives with Christ in jeopardy. It's an appeasement gospel that says it doesn't matter how you live or what you do. All you have to do is just say something, turn your head around 3 times, whatever, and everything will be all right. Can you say that one more time to someone who's listening, maybe in Philadelphia or maybe in North Carolina or even Warsaw, Poland right now?
Absolutely. I was told, on one hand, that it was okay to be who I was because God had created me that way. And so, in my eyes, if God made me that way and God is okay with who I am, what do I need to go to church for? What do I need to go praise God for? If He made me this way, then I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and so, and then on the other hand, I had the hell and brimstone where you're going to hell.
Yeah.
God hates it. He doesn't like it. He's disgusted by you, and you're going to hell. And I guess, it's pretty obvious what that means to, just total and utter opposite. I'm going to run deeper into my sin, deeper into that darkness. I'm going to desire the darkness more now because you told me that your God hates me and is disgusted and I'm going to hell. There was no love. And some of it what's ironic is that it's truth.
Mm-hmm.
But when truth is delivered with hatred, then that truth turns into poison.
Yes.
And that's what it was for me. The truth was poison because it was brought to me in hatred. But that one man, a correctional officer that risked his job by giving me the gospel and telling me the truth, that one man in my life that I could see him coming down the catwalk and all my friends would say, I'm out of here. Here comes that bishop. And I said, well, guess what? I'm saying, y'all go ahead. I want to talk to him. Wow. He's got something I want. I want that. You see that sparkle in them eyes? I want that. I want that. That's going to be mine. And glory to God it is now, But I woke up one morning on my deathbed with a peace that I had never known. And I said, okay, God, I'm ready. I am ready to go. You can take me home. Bring me home.
Wow.
I'm ready to go because I knew I wasn't going to hell, and I knew I was no longer afraid to die. And so I said, bring me home, God. I just asked him one thing. I said, you know what, Lord? I just ask that you are glorified in my death. That somehow, some way, my family will come to Christ through my death, that you can be glorified. That's all I wanted. And so God had other plans. He says, well, you remember 3 weeks ago when you said, if I heal you, you're going to work for me for the rest of my life? He said, well, guess what? Within weeks, I was getting up out of bed. I was standing straight. I was not using a walker. Within a month, I was at the doctor's having my blood work done. I was blessed to have a nurse practitioner that I dealt with who was a Christian, and she was also a cancer survivor. And she said, David, this is a miracle. She said, you are undetectable. She said, one, I had only seen in books people that had a viral load as high as yours.
Mm.
She said, two, I had never seen one of them survive.
Whoa,
And
glory
three,
be to God. Woo!
Three, I have never seen a viral load go from even in the tens of thousands to undetectable. And so at that point, it was just, well, and if you're under 200, you are considered undetectable, but you still have the virus. And so I accepted that. I said, okay. So what I did was I moved from Jersey, Philly area back to Maine. And I went up to Maine, and I actually had a bone density test done in Maine, and the doctor said, David, you couldn't have possibly had osteoporosis, because there is absolutely nothing wrong with your bone density. She said, actually, you have a better bone density than you should for a man your age.
Wow. Glory.
I said, well, that's God. She said, oh, no, that has to be a mixed up test somewhere. I said, no, well, I know it's God. You know, all the psych meds from the depression, the anxiety, the bipolar, the PTSD diagnosis, you know, they had me on so much psych medication. And I went into therapy one day, and, you know, I was a young Christian, a new Christian. I was on fire for the Lord, took my Bible everywhere with me. And I looked at the therapist, and I said, would you like to pray? And she said, absolutely not. I said, well, you know what? I absolutely do not want to be here, and you won't see me again. I don't need you. I don't need your medication. I went home. I threw all the medications out, every single medication. It was just phenomenal, because I had never felt so good in all of my life. And it was just like, I just knew within myself that all of this depression and anxiety, it's all like results or symptoms from being in the world. You know, and once you come out of the world, they're gone. And whether he chooses to take them away on day one or day 1,000, he can do it. Anything can be done with him. And I'm at a point right now where I went and had an anonymous HIV test done, and they told me I was HIV negative.
Glory be to God.
I have to say about that, but I know what they told me anonymously. That's what they told me.
Okay, now.
But when I go in there as David, they have something. They tell me something else.
David. Now I need for you to repeat that. And give me a moment here. Let me explain why. There are people around the world who listen to this program, and some of them have cancer, some of them have leukemia, some of them have mental illnesses, some of them have homosexuality issues and adultery issues, and some of them have been told by men and women of the cloth that there is no hope, even though they practice serving a God of hope. And you just said in the past 20 minutes when we started that in the beginning you were diseased. And in Psalms it's written that I am the healer of all diseases. And you just said you went from HIV positive to HIV negative. And I'm quite sure it was the doctor who did that, or maybe it was a prescription that did it, or maybe you're taking all types of vitamins, and that was the reason that happened. Is that the reason that happened, or tell everyone exactly how it happened?
the healer, the doctor of doctors, the healer of healers, God. It was Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ removed it from me. And I have no doubt. I have no doubts. I have no wonders. I have no worries. I have no concerns about it. You know, a lot of people look at me like I'm crazy, and they say, well, maybe you still are positive, and you just, you know, you don't know it. And I'm like, well, if I was positive, then the test that I had done would have said I was positive and not negative. And I welcome anybody to give it all, to just give it all. When you're at a place where you have no hope, where you have nothing, where you know that you are going to die, and then he raises you up, and you know that your life is not your own, that your life, that everything you do now belongs to him, and you have this undeniable, unbelievable faith in God and God alone. There's absolutely nothing that he cannot do. Nothing. And whether he removed, I mean, you know, people used to find it amazing a few years ago when I would tell them that I had diabetes and it's gone, and I had depression and it's gone, and I had high cholesterol and high blood pressure and they're gone. Everything is normal. You know, I went up to 415 pounds, and in January I was 352 pounds. And it's pretty much, it was due to all of the medications and all of the coming off of the medications and the just the turmoil I put my body through. And because I had breasts as a man, and so subconsciously I wanted to hide those breasts, so I ate everything in sight. And so I went from 352 in January to now 250, and I feel amazing. And as the weight is coming off, the breasts are going away too, because God says, okay, you don't need them anymore.
Glory be to God.
I'm going to take it all.
David, when I looked at you up in Philly, you look like a linebacker. I would love for you to block for me anytime going through the gap. Man, you look so healthy, so spry, so strong. I mean, you look like a hulk of a man. But that wasn't you a few years ago. God changed all of that for you.
He did. He most absolutely did. And, you know, and so people like to say to me all the time, even my family used to say, they would say, so what, are you straight now? And I say, you know what? The opposite of homosexuality is not heterosexuality. The opposite of homosexuality is redeemed, it's sanctified, justified, free from the bondage of sin. It's being a child of God. And you know, it's the opposite of homosexuality is the same of the opposite of being a fornicator, the opposite of being a murderer, a liar, a thief. Sin is sin. And we just know this and accept this, and we stop. And we stop with these labels and telling these children that they can be a man or they can be a girl, they can be whatever they feel like today.
Just want them to be redeemed.
Amen.
Listen.
Just want them to know that they can be who God created them to be. Scripture took me. I was the most feminine woman that anyone could have ever met. And you know who taught me how to be a man? Since I didn't have a father, and now I have a father, is Jesus taught me how to be a man. Through his word, through scripture. He taught me how to be a man. And so now, and the best part of this, Ken, is in 2014, I was in a store and I looked at a woman, and she had on some, her clothes were a frame for her figure and not for her face. Yeah. But I looked at her with the lust that I used to look at men with. And then I prayed to God, and I said, God, I don't want to see women like that.
Yeah.
Please allow me to look at a woman the way you see women, as the gift that you created them to be. And now I can proudly and courageously stand here and say, God has granted me the gift of being a man of God and being able to look at women as the beautiful gifts that they are. And I don't mean physically, but spiritually.
Wow.
You know, and so all of this, I mean, it all just comes down to what can God do you for today?
Wow, what God can do you for today. Oh, man, that's awesome. That is completely awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, David Arthur is I Belong Amen Ministries. You are the ministry. From his misery to this particular ministry, he's able to decipher the Word of God for those who seemed so hopeless. I want to let you know, David, that 15% of my listening audience is from Washington, D.C., and I dare say that half of them don't want to listen to my show. They're waiting for me to slip up and flaw somewhere that they can pass it along of some error. Many of them are from the LGBTQI community, and they are looking to be dashed, to be bashed. But tonight, what you're saying is there is hope.
There's absolutely hope, Ken. There's not only hope, but I can tell you, and this is for each of you, even if you have a loved one who is trapped in that world, that there's not only hope, but there's freedom. There is freedom from being LGBT. There is freedom from homosexuality. There is freedom from transgenderism. There is freedom from that dark world. There truly is freedom, and not just freedom, but that you're going to find that you can set yourself free, or you can be set free from some program or some minister or some ministry or pastor is going to set you free. Only the Son of God can set you free, and when He does, you are free indeed. And it's not to say that we don't struggle, but we don't struggle with our struggle.
Yes.
Because we are confident, we are secure, we are content in the finished work of Jesus Christ on that cross. And that's what I live for. And that's who I am. That's who He has created in me to be.
David,
and He can do the same for each of you.
David, you have lived a redeemed life. And there's someone who's sitting on their deathbed tonight. There's someone who's sitting next to someone on the bus tonight, listening to this through their earphones. There's someone who has a very expensive personal computer system, and they're listening to this tonight. And they're saying that you are a prop, that you are one of those individuals who has been convinced by some psychologist or psychiatrist that you are no longer gay, and that was wrong, and no one should have ever intruded on you like that and offended you like that. You can be what you want to be. It doesn't matter. And you haven't really changed. So what we need to do is protect you from those people that want to sear your mind.
You know what, Ken?
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt you, brother, but all I can say is they don't truly believe that.
Yeah.
They don't truly believe that, because even they have a desire and a hope inside of them for that freedom. And so they don't truly believe that. That's their argument, but they don't truly believe that. They know the sincerity. And then, you know, I can challenge any one of them to just go to my Facebook page or my website and just look at my picture, my side-by-side photo, and look at my eyes and who I was and who I am now. And look at my eyes, and I guarantee you see that I was dead and now I live. Because He lives inside of me.
David,
I guarantee you.
David, your testimony is tremendous. I look forward to you coming back on my program to talk about many other things.
I look forward to coming down to D.C. and hanging out.
Like that's what I'm saying, man. And I'll take you to a Fuse restaurant. We go double bacon burger.
Uh-oh. We'll roll. I'll take the burger and the bacon.
All right. Listen, would you do me the greatest honor? Would you pray for my listening audience and pray for the redemption of those who believed once as you believed, that there was no hope, that they actually find that God of hope?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Heavenly Father, I come to you humbly. I come to you with my head bowed, Lord, in sincerity and in love for your word and your truth. And I beg of you, Father, that you may reach your hands down and that you will pluck these lost individuals, these out of this dark place, out of the sewers of this world. That you will pluck them out and you can raise them up, and I know that you can do this, Father. And I just ask that you will touch their hearts, that they will seek you, that they will seek your face. And in seeking your face, Lord, that they will find you, and they will find hope. And if it be the light that you shine through me to help lead them out of that darkness, and so be it. If it be the light that you use another brother or a sister, then please, Father, do so. Because the only desire that I have is to bring your truth, Father, to the lost and to the saints. Because we all need to know your truth.
Yes, Lord.
Because we all need your hope and your faith. And Father, I ask that you reach the ones that are farthest from you.
Yes, Lord.
The ones that people say they are too far gone, that the devil is on their shoulder and he's whispering to them that there is no going back now, that they can't turn back now, that they are too far gone, that they've taken too many hormones, that they've had too many surgeries, that they've had too many injections of silicone and all that other garbage that the devil wants to put in their bodies and in their minds. And Father, I want you to tell them that they can't because of you, because of the finished work that you have completed for each one of us in the death of your Son. And Father, I ask this, and I beg of you, and I praise you, Lord. I worship you. I lift your name on high, and I glorify you, and I ask these things in the holy and precious name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. David, thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, you have touched my heart, man. And I know a lot of people, when they look at us, they think that you never have gone through anything. And it is a testimony of the believers, of the witness of God, that bring us into the folly of redemption. If only a few men just believed, we could rescue and save the world.
Amen.
David,
and if one person hears this program and has some hope, it's all worth it.
just one.
Just one.
This show is only just for one person. And if you're that one person, God bless you. May the rest of your life be not a trial and tribulation, but actually be a witness of the profound glory of God in it. David, God bless you, sir. Thank you so much for coming on. We look forward to you coming back in the coming weeks, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ken.
You're welcome. That was David Author. God bless you. David Author of I Belong, Amen Ministries. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of those shows that you just keep in your link or your browser, and you just send it out every once in a while to somebody who comes into your life who tells you that all things are impossible. Tell them that it's okay to believe in the God of impossible, because only the God of impossible can make possible happen. We'll be back right after these messages.
Hey, it's Jersey Joe from the Reaver, Common Sense. You can catch me every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on shrmedia.com. It's every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shrmedia.com.
It's a love story like no other. From God's heart to yours. And for 30 years, it's been at the heart of every book, Bible, CD, gift, and resource from ChristianBook.com. Over 500,000 products, always at the very best value. ChristianBook.com. Everything Christian, because it's our story too.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
No business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the homeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Catholics do.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sokka as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
From day's first light to night's last glimmer, your satisfaction is our responsibility. On the range or in the field of duty, you can rely on Brownell's lifetime guaranteed gun parts, tools, and supplies. Anytime, any place. It's how we've done business since 1939. Brownell's.
Well, welcome to Freedom Fest 2015. I think this is the best Freedom Fest we've ever put together. Freedom Fest is truly international. There's people from all over the world that come to Freedom Fest, not just to talk, but also to participate in dialogue, participate in the panels, to participate in the audience.
So hold your breath, lock your seatbelts. I hope you're at your Wheaties today.
We are enslaved by government mandates. What light bulb you can buy, what car you can drive, how you heat and cool your home, to what health insurance.
Europe actually has allowed itself to be held hostage of this entire Greek situation.
They have the courage to debate. We have debates on foreign policy, on taxes, on what's going on in the world, and how to invest and how to run your own life. He used an example of restaurants. Don't open a restaurant because it's so competitive you'll never make any money. Really? I mean, been to Chipotle lately? How many believe that Peter Thiel won the argument competition is overrated in America? And how many favor John Mackey's response?
So here's the moment many of you have been waiting for, myself included, and I think it's the reason why this room is completely packed all the way to the back as far as I can see. I think I worked about 8 years to put together this debate. I have to say, it's really kind of depressing.
to see people holding up the Reagan story, which is so obviously different if you pay any attention to the story, as that's the best argument. Really? That's the best argument.
The middle class and the poor, the people you say you care most about, are the people who've been hurt the most by these policies because they've had no income growth at all.
Thank you. They already left 2 waters for me. I'll probably only need 1. So I appreciate it. In America today, higher education is controlled by a cartel. And they say, oh, let's take out a loan and pay for this. And no one bothers to tell them that the market for Greek philosophers has been tight for 2,000 years.
So in terms of its 2 major policy objectives, stable prices and a stable economy, the Fed has clearly failed.
And if the Federal Reserve actually did the right thing, the market would crash.
Every country in the world has a lower corporate tax rate than us. Can we fix that?
This, in my view, is the premier libertarian event in the country.
You probably meet the largest cross-section of philosophically based groups of any conference anywhere in the world. Some of the smartest people in our country come together here to discuss the ideas, the challenges. This is an engaged group of individuals.
This is all about fun. It's not about how fancy you are.
Feisty discussions, interesting people to meet.
I love it. This is my first time doing anything like this. It's not going to relax.
It's the only place you get this many people who agree with me. Nobody, I live in New York. Nobody agrees with me.
You know, war is not the health of the state. War is the death of liberty and freedom. And that's a mentality that is particularly strong in the Republican Party, but it's also strong in the Democratic Party.
I want government to be this small. I want individuals to be this big.
We are people when we are at our greatest that we lead by example. We don't jam it down anybody's throat. We don't force them to live our way. We don't nation build.
Very interesting. There's a lot of variety of stuff. Really.
Hear ye, hear ye. Freedom Fest Court is now in session.
We are gathered here in this great sovereign state of Nevada to decide the fate of the country's central bank, the Federal Reserve.
Please place your hand on the tradition of Forbes 400 richest.
Of the bubble in many markets, and that's simply mathematically impossible without the Fed creating money to make it happen.
The Fed is guilty, 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 guilty. Court is now adjourned. God bless America, and may you always ride on the eagle of freedom. Hallelujah, and good night.
I'm Joanne Skousen. I'm the founding director of the Anthem Film Festival, and we are in our 5th year. We started in a little room on the 26th floor at Bally's, and now we've grown to huge numbers. In fact, we have a fabulous lineup of short.
Police officers who wear a body cam, but you as citizens may not have access to that footage.
Live from Las Vegas.
We recognize that Freedom Fest is a big tent.
Well, I happen to like Rand Paul. I really do. By the way, in some cases, they'll build a new hospital for $1.5 billion. You could build 7 hospitals, 10 hospitals, so that if you knew what you were doing.
We had almost 300 speakers.
Without a doubt, our most successful Freedom Fest ever.
And I just adore the experience. It's like a saturation of the senses, a saturation of the mind. I learned so much. I come home with way too many books. I adore Freedom Fest. I'm definitely coming back again next year.
Well, guess what, America? Next year starts tomorrow. And tomorrow in Las Vegas, Mrs. Biggs and I will be landing, and we will be enjoying Mr. and Mrs. Skousen's Freedom Fest. I tell you, it is one of the premier events. It is CPAC the way it should have been on steroids. It's just one of the most amazing events. Mary Brockman, my bouncer, will tell you that as well. We encourage you, if you can attend, find your way to Freedom Fest. And that's at Planet Hollywood. Last year set a record attendance. I'm quite certain this year's will be even larger than that. I just received messages from Valerie and all the others at Amy and all the others at Freedom Fest. They are excited about us being on Radio Row, SHR Media, Sackhead Sean, Sackhead Clint, Sacco will be with us, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor. It will be a litany of great expressions, great joy, and we hope that you can attend. If you can't attend in person, definitely listen to SHR Media and as well High Plains Pundit Media for the best wall-to-wall coverage of Freedom Fest 2016. You never know what's going to happen, who's going to appear, but I assure you it will be scintillating. George Foreman will be there. We're going to try our best to interview George Foreman. Forgive me, not Colin Powell. But Colonel Alan West will be there. I'm telling you, it's going to be a tremendous event. And we're going to relay it all to you, wall-to-wall coverage at SHR Media. We are the wild, untamed ones. So you will note us easily when you get there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the second half of the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the Socialist. I am your host, the Exceptional One, Kim McClinton. We are carried on Sackheads Radio, which is SHR Media. Also carried on High Plains Pundit Media, and as well Red Nation Rising. Congratulations for the launching earlier this month to a record audience. And I listen, any one of those shows on Red Nation Rising are great shows to listen to. We happen to be on at 2 o'clock in the morning. Thankful, as always, for the opportunity of being on one of the two channels at Red Nation Rising. I tell you, we will be broadcasting live from Las Vegas at Freedom Fest. We want you to listen. We want you to be there. Be there. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time on Tuesday evenings, and what better way, actually, in all sincerity, what better way? I love Tuesday nights because of this wondrous woman, Janis Hall, the J Hall World Report. She'll be joining us momentarily. And there are so many things that are happening around the world, but I want you all to know that, like you, I was completely embarrassed by the remarks of Barack Hussein Obama at the funeral. That was no place to turn a political bent. You're burying a police officer who has done as close to what Jesus could do. He gave his life for his family, his city, and his nation, and then you're going to politicize it by making comments about Glocks. And it was an embarrassment, and on behalf of the nation, we apologize. Those comments should never have been made, and it really saddens me. We'll talk about that in the last quarter of our program. The awful politicization of the deaths of so many innocent deaths. But coming up now, which is why I truly love Tuesday nights, and what a way to end the week for the Exceptional Conservative Show with none other than the beautiful and brilliant Janis Hall of the J Hall World Report. Good evening, Janis. It's a great pleasure to have you on the air with us tonight.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. Absolutely wonderful. Have you ever watched Downton Abbey?
I haven't actually, no.
Okay. It's my daughter used to watch this thing all the time, but it's some type of pre-World War I-ish type of drama of rich people and their servants, and they're going through the transitions of time or whatever, and it's really a hilarious drama, if there is any. And I relate it to what's happening with Brexit, which is more drama and hilarity than anything I've seen since Downton Abbey. They have a new prime minister all of a sudden. What happened?
Yes, they do. You are absolutely correct. There is drama happening in the UK. So after the Brexit vote, as we know, Cameron decided that he was going to step down. And I will admit I did not think that this would come quite so soon. But it would seem that they're going to have a new prime minister tomorrow. And her name is Theresa May. Mm-hmm. And basically she got the job because nobody else wanted it.
What? There were no other applications in the stall there. No one else was.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, it is going to be a difficult time for Britain.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was always going to happen. But I don't think that means that it's necessarily going to be a disaster. I think if May can, be a good leader and, can handle the exit situation well, which, she said she will, in fact, honor the vote and, start proceedings to have Britain leave the EU. And, if she can handle this well, I think then, she could very well be incredibly popular. So I see it as it's one of those great risk, great reward type positions. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's some risk involved, but I think there's also a huge potential to be, very successful. And I mean, I certainly hope that they are successful. And I mean, I think that they can be if they, keep their heads and have good leadership and, stick to their guns. I think that Britain will come out okay.
Exactly. And, over the past 2 weeks, and we both have been telling people that you need to just calm down. That the comments that Britain would surely die, there will be an economic catastrophe, the whole world will sink, the only nation that will be standing is the U.S., and it was just absolutely buffoonery. But will Theresa May give the strong arm that's necessary to guide England, the British nation, back into a stellar trade nation, a stellar nation as part of Europe?
I sure hope so. I mean, I don't think we know yet right now how it's going to go. She could be an absolute disaster. We don't know the future. But
it could be.
I certainly hope that it'll work out and she can do a great job.
Well, we're talking with Janis Hall of J Hall World Report, and which is the best night of the week for me. Theresa May didn't get a congratulatory call from Prime Minister Merkel of Germany. Let's just say that they are not on one accord. Can you tell us the relationship between Theresa May, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, and Angela Merkel, the Prime Minister of Germany?
So yeah, I think as we can all imagine, they are not getting along. It's likely they will probably not get along, potentially ever. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who would have been the new prime minister. The fact that Britain voted to leave and that Britain, if they in fact do, which it looks like they will, leave, Merkel was going to be upset anyway at whoever it was. So, I mean, she's just angry at the whole situation in general, and she's angry at essentially the British for abandoning her while Europe sinks. So, yeah, I can imagine she's probably upset.
Wow. Now, is there any room for these two ladies to sit down? I mean, because they got an immigration problem. They have, oh my God, they have, of course, the central banks are virtually just printing money out basements at this point. They have the Mohammedan situation. They have concerns about NATO and Russia. I mean, can't these ladies just sit down and say, shake hands, even though we're not, literally on the same team, we're really in the same neighborhood and we believe the same kind of things? No.
But here's the thing, that if they want to be successful, if both of them want to be successful, yes, they will have to sit down. They will have to work out an agreement that helps both of them. And Germany will not be able to be vindictive. So far, all the rhetoric that's generally been coming out of Europe, and especially from Merkel, has been very vindictive, essentially wanting to punish Britain for leaving. And that is not only going to potentially hurt Britain, but it's going to also hurt the EU. And you would think and expect that Europe, with its, just some air quotes here, enlightened government policies would be cordial enough with each other that they wouldn't be vindictive against other governments who might want to pursue a different route.
Exactly. It's really shameful for the people, because those are the ones who really get hurt with all this minutia political rhetoric and one-upsmanship. The people that get hurt are the ones who are suffering from trade negotiations gone awry. They're suffering from immigration invasions. They're suffering from regulations of toasters, and they're suffering.
Right.
And these guys are fighting.
They are. Well, I mean, I would say that I don't think that that's specifically a European problem. I think that's kind of a Western world problem at the moment.
Yeah.
I think that we're seeing right now just a tremendous amount of ridiculous regulation, and essentially regulation that doesn't, it doesn't promote competition, it doesn't promote small business, it doesn't promote big ideas. Its primary purpose is simply to make sure that the big corporations continue to be big and continue to make profit.
Exactly. Want to turn the page over for just a moment to a nation that's really shuddering, suffering. I mean, they run out of toilet paper, they run out of beer, they they've just run out of virtually everything. It's Venezuela. How is it standing after all of this time?
Well, it still is, somehow. So a couple stories out of there that I wanted to talk about today.
Yeah.
One was that okay, so apparently companies are closing down. Foreign companies are closing down, their plants and stuff in Venezuela, which honestly to me was somewhat of a surprise that they still have them there. And isn't it though? government, in its infinite wisdom, decided that it would then take over these plants that were no longer being operated by, a foreign company. And that's great, but guess what? Whether it's being operated by a foreign company or by the government, the plants still don't have any materials to actually function.
Oh my God! So you really all you can do is change the name on the front of the door if you had paint.
But I mean, that's not going to make it productive.
Exactly. Oh my God. Okay, so the governments have taken over the businesses, and they are as productive as they've ever been. In fact, even more productive than before, because they're producing absolutely nothing. So congratulations, Venezuela. Great job. And then what is this whole idea that if you can't make it as a country, you send your people to another country? What is that all about?
Well, that seems to be the thing to do these days. So Venezuela, that had closed the borders quite a long time ago, opened them up for a whole 12 hours with Colombia at a certain section, and essentially allowed the citizens to cross over into Colombia by basic necessities to come back. And then the borders closed again.
Did they come back?
Well, the report seemed to say yes, but I heard that there was a significant amount of people that didn't come back.
Thank you. All the people who have a very high IQ didn't come back. That's
I would think so. I would think so. I mean, the reports I saw made no mention of that, but I can't imagine that once getting into Colombia that they really went back.
Now, in this reporting, did they work this out with Colombia? I mean, did Colombia know that this was going to happen?
No. Bit of a surprise.
Oh my God! So, ladies and gentlemen, you thought Florida was bad when Cuba was open, and for people in Texas, you think Mexico is bad. Millions of people probably left Venezuela and never came back. Oh my God! Poor Colombia. Is there any reaction from Colombia? Are they going to force these illegal immigrants back over the borders like they do in Haiti and the Dominican Republic?
You know, they probably should, but they probably will, or at least they will probably attempt to. Unlike other countries that we often discuss that don't. But who knows how effective they'll be. I mean, I imagine that there are still plenty of people who are just crossing illegally into other countries.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about a refugee crisis. Yes, I think the Venezuelans do need to stand up for themselves and, figure out their own government.
Yeah.
But, they are having a huge issue there right now.
I feel for the Colombian people. Now, Colombia is not as wealthy as Venezuela is. Or Brazil. Okay? It's just not. And now you have tons of people coming across your border who may not go back. An already impoverished country is going to be stretched to its limits. Doesn't it set up chaos like a domino effect in South America?
It does a bit. It does. And I'm Personally, I think you and I were both still waiting for Venezuela to fall, and I think that it will eventually, but it still hasn't yet, and until that happens, you're right, there's definitely going to be kind of people are going to be leaving, and that's naturally going to be a problem for everybody else.
But you know what? When those people leave, it doesn't make it easy for Venezuela to fail. They have fewer people, fewer complaints and issues, more food that can be used to spread until such time as the planting season comes back and they recover a bit. This is like a very good surviving strategy for the nation of dictators.
Yes, well, that seems to be the go-to strategy right now with a failed state, is simply to get all of your population to leave.
You're not a failed state anymore. That's why we love Janis. Janis breaks down the complex issues for the kitchen table conversation. Venezuela hanging on. They're throwing people over the side of the boat now. Eventually, they will start throwing the captain over the ship over, and eventually the ship would just sink. We're hoping. This is a serious issue for Ethiopia, Janis, because for all those people in America who say that, you know, we're the worst country on the face of the earth, and if somebody gets elected, they're going to move someplace. Why should they move to Ethiopia? All those people who don't want to vote for a certain person.
Well, they should all move to Ethiopia because they take testing very, very seriously. The college entrance exam. So seriously, in fact, that they have essentially just unilaterally banned social media from the country.
What?
They are concerned that students will cheat.
What? No Facebook, no Twitter, no whatever.
No Facebook, no Twitter.
Oh my God.
No Snapchat.
No Snapchat. Oh my God. The country did this?
Yes, the country did this. And as expected, you know, biggest issue here generally is that of precedent. That is it really okay for a government to just shut down social media because it wants to? You know, that essentially, and even though I think, you know, obviously cheating is not good, the fact that the government just shuts down essentially a primary method of communication is not good.
No, because virtually, if you can shut down the social media, you can shut down the internet. And if you can shut down the internet, what other thing can you do to punish your people? It's just a chain event.
Yes, yes it is.
So we should send every liberal who will be offended when President Trump takes office to Ethiopia so they can really appreciate America.
I would like to.
On a serious tip, however, and not that Ethiopia isn't serious, they do have some issues in Ethiopia, but Russia. And a few months ago, we were talking about them maybe not expanding, but certainly taking it to the U.S. military, trying to show them up. Vladimir Putin did something this week that should send a warning to NATO and to the rest of the U.S. military. What is that?
He fired a bunch of his military, you know, the top personnel in the military. And I think it was specifically around the Balkans. And I will say that there is some debate about why he did this. People are still not entirely sure. But one theory is that Putin did this because the commanders essentially were unwilling to essentially be more aggressive with the U.S.
Wow. Wow. Because they didn't get aggressive with the U.S., they lost their jobs.
Yeah.
Wow.
I won't say that this is confirmed that that's the reason, but there's definitely some that is one of the theories.
Now, we talked about the fact that if he wanted to, which it doesn't sound like he wants to right now, but if he wanted to, he could really move into Eastern Europe, and there would be no one that would stop him.
No.
And he buzzed over the U.S. plane, the U.S. Aircraft carrier, about a month or so ago, and we didn't shoot it down. We didn't shoot down the airplanes. But it sounds like he wanted to fire on us. It's
probably. I mean, I think that he knows he can be aggressive, and you're right, he absolutely can take a significant portion of Eastern Europe if he so wanted to. And I don't think that the West would really do anything to stop him. That said, I think that part of that, the plan, as it were, I think is to be probably more aggressive with the U.S. And to push us. We've seen in the South China Sea that we really, when China pushes us, we really don't do anything. And I think that he's counting on that for us to do nothing in Eastern Europe.
Wow. That's, you and I are getting that same message. This is really about Eastern Europe. Also the missile defense shield that he put up in Poland, that the U.S. government put up in Poland, sent a message to Russia. He's pissed at this particular point.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't he be? Yeah. Right? The oil's down, which is a huge moneymaker for them. Their economy, we put sanctions on them because we don't like them, and we refuse to work with them, and essentially we have been annoying them and pushing their buttons for very little reason. Exactly.
I'm telling you, that's a message, and Obama should take it very seriously. But then again, he won't. Just one other quick thing. He won't. Just one other quick thing with you. Speaking of China, China has been building castles in the sea. Unlike Stevie Wonder's castles in the sky, they've been building castles in the sea. And they've been told, naughty, naughty, you can't do that. Who told them that, and what did China say back to the person that said it?
Okay.
Family hour.
The International Court told them, China, you shouldn't be claiming all of this land all of this water for yourself. You don't have any territorial rights to it. Well, China said, yeah, okay, we're not.
Yeah, we're not gonna say what they say. But this does set up a crisis for the United Nations at this point, right? because they're going to have to act on that.
No, I don't think they'll act on it.
Really? Really? Are you serious? The United Nations that really pursues justice for all nations is not going to challenge China? Oh, I'm amazed.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, isn't
it? So that middle finger that you saw in your mirror, kids, that's China. Janis Hall, the J Hall World Report. We love you. We're so glad you're here with us every Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you for bringing complex issues from around the world down to the kitchen table for us to understand.
Always happy to.
All right. Janis Hall, we love Janis. It is the best part of the week, I believe. Ladies and gentlemen, because I don't hear this kind of stuff on other talk shows. I don't hear it broken down like that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, want to let you know, without a shadow of a doubt, that we are quite disappointed with the behavior of President Barack Obama at the recent funeral for the police officer. When we come back, you're going to listen to some of it, unfortunately. And then we're going to listen to what a real president says when given the opportunity to bring a nation together. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. I want to thank David Arthur for coming on our program earlier tonight. Yeah, I know, Mary. I wanted to be civil. I really tried, Mary. And I feel the way you feel. It's not disappointment. It's pissed. It was a huge embarrassment. I got to play these commercials. When we come back, gosh darn it, we got to listen to the President of the United States screw up once again. And this just goes to show you, ladies and gentlemen, that we need a change. We do. It's just that simple. We do.
Hi everybody, it's Kristen. I'm here to review women's spirits made by dogs. I love these shoes. I am an FM sufferer, so finding shoes that don't make my feet hurt is very tough. These don't make my feet hurt. I've tried Pumas, I've tried Nikes. Nikes are pretty good. Pumas I can't wear. They hurt my feet too much. I mean, it's to the point to where my feet hurt so bad to where I can't even walk. So I was so happy whenever I was contacted to review the new dogs. I love these dogs. I love these things. My feet don't hurt when I wear them. They got the holes in them to keep my feet cool. They got massaging bumpies inside. Feels like you're walking on little things of foam. I mean, like, it's just awesome. I just love it. The heel is a deep well down in your heel, and it protects, it's a shock absorber. So if you're running in them or jumping in them, like if you're on a trail and you have to jump in them, it absorbs the shock. What else? And then it's a higher thing back here for your heel. So it's like a really high thing that protects your ankle from when you're running, so there's no injuries, so it doesn't cause injuries. Velcro, so it's very easy to tighten your shoe, so whenever you're running, your shoe won't fall off when you're trying to run. I love these shoes, and I hope you guys really appreciate this review, and there will be pictures at the end, like always. But I wish you would guys go check them out. They're only, these women's spirits are $40. There's a whole bunch of other kind of shoes that you can purchase as well. There are children's shoes, toddler shoes, infant shoes, men's shoes, women's shoes. Anything you can think of, they got it. And they're pretty cool. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you next time. Bye.
From coast to coast, there is one bank focused on building a better future. One bank with programs you can trust to help boost your economic picture. One United Bank. With rates better than the national average, no hidden fees, and even cashback debit cards, you'll feel the boost in your budget. One United Bank, the premier bank for urban communities in Boston, Miami, and Los Angeles. Visit us at oneunited.com or call 877-1UNITED today. Member FDIC.
My name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. We're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage that we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredients. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. Now, we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burgers. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA round chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burgers, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing better to eat. That's why when David Arthur comes to Washington, I will be taking him to Infused Restaurant out in Temple Hills, Maryland. One of the 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, that is. One of the best places to eat in Washington, D.C. I'm talking double bacon, double burger, just the way I like it, medium well, hot piping right off of the grill. Ladies and gentlemen, treat yourself to brunch there this weekend. I won't be there, so I won't eat up all the food for you. But definitely, you want to go to Infused Restaurant and Lounge. Also, for those who will be joining us, big hug. Stop past the SHR Media Center at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas, Nevada this week. I will be there. Mrs. Biggs will not always be there. She has given me that look that says, once I get off the plane, I'm a free woman. So, so let it be. Ladies and gentlemen, we have entered the commercial-free session of the Exceptional Conservative Show live from Washington, D.C. Mary, I saw what you put in chat, and it didn't surprise me at all. That's why I napped instead of watching Obama's lame, sad, treacherous. Yeah. This is why my friends and the chat room at Broadcast Central on the Exceptional Conservative Show are so upset. Let's play a little Bill O'Reilly here to kind of set the mood.
President Obama and race. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Today in Dallas, Mr. Obama addressed the world trying to calm racial tension in the USA.
Scripture tells us that in our sufferings, there is glory. because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character. And character, hope.
All of that is true, but it's also rhetorical. And while the president is trying to lift spirits, we do need some targeted programs in America to tamp down racial animosity. The president hit a high note and a dubious note. First, the good.
We're going to have to be honest with each other and ourselves. We know that the overwhelming majority of police officers do an incredibly hard and dangerous job fairly and professionally. They are deserving of our respect and not our scorn.
Very well put by the president. But then Mr. Obama veered away from the present and into the land of grievance.
We also know that centuries of racial discrimination, of slavery and subjugation and Jim Crow, they didn't simply vanish with...
Wait a minute. Slavery, Democrat thing. Jim Crow, Democrat thing. Black Lives Matter, Democrat thing. Wait a minute, Mr. President. Are you reminding America of what the Democrats have done to it? Let's play that again.
Of racial discrimination, of slavery and subjugation and Jim Crow. They didn't simply vanish with the end of lawful segregation. They didn't just stop when Dr. King made a speech and the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act were signed.
The president went on to say that race relations have, quote, improved dramatically in my lifetime. However, raising the specter of slavery and Jim Crow gives the haters an excuse and fuels the grievance industry. If we are ever to become one nation under God, we'll have to put the grievances behind us and not use them as an excuse for current bad behavior. That means acceptance of past sins and a determination to never let mass discrimination happen again. To some extent, the president understands that, but he's not powerful enough in stating it. Instead, he dwells on the problem rather than on the solution.
But America, we know that bias remains. We know it. Whether you are black or white or...
Let me remind you all that this is a message from the President of the United States, the most powerful man in the world. And this is about a funeral for a police officer who died protecting the haters who wanted him to die. Roll him.
But America, we know that bias remains. We know it. Whether you are black or white or Hispanic or Asian or Native American or of Middle Eastern descent, we have all seen this bigotry in our own lives at some point.
And white people have been the subject of bigotry as well. The truth is, bias will always be with us. Every country has it. From the dawn of mankind, unfair treatment has occurred on this planet. Americans should all be in this together, but we're not. What we really need is a federal government to create laws that are fair to everyone and make sure they are enforced without prejudice. That's not going to be easy, but it is possible.
Okay, can I say just one thing about Bill O'Reilly here? Okay, enough of sounding like Glenn Beck for a moment. We do not need the federal government doing anything else. They've already been very successful in handling the email server case for Loretta Lynch, President Obama, Hillary Rodham Clinton, and Bill Clinton. We don't need the federal government doing anything else. Stop. in the name of love before you break something else. Bill, what we need is the federal government to stay out of the affairs of the state and allow state police officers, local police officers, subject to the will of the local body, to do the work that they're supposed to do, to protect and to serve without having cameras popped up all around them, judging them before they even go into a decompression mode of fact with an investigator. Just saying, Bill. Just saying. So just want to say this to you real quick. This is Barack Hussein Obama at that same memorial for fallen Dallas police officers. We'll play that for you. There we go.
We flood communities with so many guns that it is easier for a teenager to buy a Glock than get his hands on a computer or even a book.
Did you hear that? Did you? And I just love the black people. Just, oh, he's just so wonderful. We have too many guns. Too many guns. Oh, I tell you what. Instead of letting your child buy a Glock, why don't you buy your child some books? Why don't you buy your child some computers? Then we won't have to make that comparison, now will we? And it's absurd that you would make such a statement at a funeral of police officers. Men and women who have to submit themselves to the wiles of criminals, who have to be subjugated to the condemnation of radical alarmists from neighborhoods and communities, have to be suffered with chidings from the White House on doing things that he's never done himself. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not easier for a teen to get a Glock unless you're in a gun-free zone. Unless they're doing something illegal. Which points back not to the police, but points back to the parent and the child. Can I show you something? I want to play for you. And T. Beckett Adams made this statement at Beckett Adams. He said, we flood communities with so many guns that it's easier for a teen to buy a Glock than get his hands on a computer. Really? Really? Do you want to have to prove that? Do you really want to have to prove that? Can I show you what real presidential presence is? Here it is.
Today the nation grieves, but those of us who love Dallas and call it home have had 5 deaths in the family. Laura and I see members of law enforcement every day. We count them as our friends. And we know, like for every other American, that their courage is our protection and shield. With their deaths, we have lost so much. We are grief-stricken, heartbroken, and forever grateful. Every officer has accepted a calling that sets them apart. Most of us imagine if the moment called for that we would risk our lives to protect a spouse or a child. Those wearing the uniform assume that risk for the safety of strangers. The shock of this evil still has not faded. At times it seems like the forces pulling us apart are stronger than the forces binding us together. Argument turns too easily into animosity. Disagreement escalates too quickly into dehumanization. Too often we judge other groups by their worst examples, while judging ourselves by our best intentions. And this has strained our bonds of understanding and common purpose. But Americans, I think, have a great advantage. To renew our unity, we only need to remember our values. We have never been held together by blood or background. We are bound by things of the Spirit, by shared commitments to common ideals. We know that the kind of just, humane country we want to build, that we have seen in our best dreams, is made possible when men and women in uniform stand guard. At their best, when they're trained and trusted and accountable, they free us from fear.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a difference listen, I am not the best preacher in all of the world. And I've known preachers who've had very tough times trying to preach sermons of eulogy. The thing that they must remember most is that it's not about them, it's about God. It's about the person, and it's about the family. It's about the neighbor, and it's about the body. They have to remember that in eulogy, the remembrance is not of what will get me on a political platform at next week's convention. It's not about being the loudest, most abrasive. It's remembering that there is a loss that seems inconsolable. That there yields not an opportunity to restore to this person that which has been taken from them by another. In this moment, it is not for self-aggrandizement or self-glory. Vanity should not prevail in this particular moment. This should be the moment that you lift a nation out of its duress, out of its contentiousness, out of its resolve to be apart for one another. This is not the moment when you begin reading your platform for the Democrat National Convention. This is not the moment when you begin preaching absurdities in order to try to make a point. Before you are men and women, real men and women, not the ones that show up at the LGBTQI fest for the Tea Party thing. No, these are real men and women who, when they realize that someone was in the midst of being shot, fell down on top of them and covered them until there was no longer the risk of someone being hurt or harmed or endangered. 5 men gave of themselves what no other men could do. They paid a price that we can't pay back. They lived a life and work that we can't complete for them. This was a funeral. A funeral for police officers who were murdered last Thursday, and just in 2 hours before they were murdered, the man that stands before them enticed Black Lives Matter to keep pushing because there's bigotry and hatred in America. An insurrection took place in Dallas last Thursday night. 5 police officers lost their lives. A little boy put his head on the flag that draped the coffin of one of the police officers. He was the son of one of the police officers. What he wanted was his dad. No ballot will bring him back because a bullet took him. No bluster will redeem the lost time. In these moments, we had a presentation of two men. One who saw the moment for what it was. Not a moment to tear down men. Not a moment to score political points. Not a moment to point his finger at himself as the only savior to the problem. George W. Bush, President of the United States, I did not agree on for signing legislation which made the national debt exorbitant. And our deficits higher. Or making our banks too big to fail. But I did adore him for being mature enough to understand the moment. The moment when the Twin Towers fell, he understood the moment. He was there. He gave courage to people that were bewildered. Faith to people who seemed dejected. Love to men willing to sacrifice everything to save the lives of just a few. Again, he understood the moment when he would get on his bike and ride with veterans who had suffered, limbs lost, PTSD issues, and yet he would ride with them for days on end. A commander-in-chief he was. Of all the things that I could criticize him about regarding policy, this I can't criticize him for. He was a man who understood the moment and exacted that moment with prescient charm and grace. Then we have President Obama, who only understands one thing. What one of his great Chicago friends articulated: never let a catastrophe or crisis go to waste. You see, in the end, President Obama really only cares about President Obama and his legacy and Hillary Clinton and her pedagogy. All he cares about is not the 5 that were fallen, but what will the polls say tomorrow? And can I convince enough congressmen and senators to take away the Second Amendment? You see, all of his moments have been about him. In the eyes of George W. Bush, his moments regarding those that would give their very lives for our nation: firemen, EMT, police, soldiers. He understood the moment. God bless this country, that someday we'll have a president who's not squawking about some secret idea of how to create more jobs by spending more government money. Oh, I'm sorry, taxpayers' money. But it would understand the moment to bring a nation together under God, making it indivisible with liberty and justice for all. The Exceptional One signs off tonight from Washington, D.C. The next time you hear me, hopefully, it will either be in heaven or in Las Vegas. But But until that time, I want to remind you that a friend of mine once told me, always be brave, never die a coward. I promise you I always will. As for me in this house, we want you to know that God blessed America. It's now time for America to bless God. We'll be back live tomorrow from Vegas at Freedom Fest. We love you with all of our heart, with all of our soul, with all of our strength, and we will see you very, very, very soon.